after CBS Investigates reported David Ward was sentenced to probation in November, we got several calls from viewers saying they too are victims. So we looked deeper into who this guy is and found a criminal record prosecutors in 3 Wisconsin counties missed.
But I am sincerely and humbly sorry.
A seemingly remorseful David Ward pled to a felony theft charge in November. Ward took $12,000 from a Winnebago County couple for contracting work he never even started.
What's the prior record here?
Prosecutor Anthony Prekop told the judge Ward has 1 prior conviction, a misdemeanor in Ozaukee County, but added he got a lot of calls from people about Ward's so-called contracting business.
I don't know his business background. I don't know his business practices. Other than what I've seen in this case, I don't know how widespread this is.
Ward got off with probation here in Winnebago County, but we dug into his past and found he has a lot more than just a misdemeanor on his record. The con actually started 2 decades ago here in Illinois. In Pekin, victims say Pastor Dave ran the same scam using a different name.
He went by Buck Ward.
We tracked down some of Ward's Illinois victims and started compiling mugshots and court records. We discovered Ward's crimes span across central Illinois, dating back to the 90s. It's always the same story.
He was very knowledgeable, very charming.
Very charming, very pleasant, seemed like he knew what he was doing.
Ward claims to be a contractor trying to start up a new business. He takes money and then takes off. In 1998, he was convicted of forgery and home repair fraud in Woodford County, Illinois. In 1999, he was convicted of 3 felonies in McLean County. That same year in Tazewell County, Ward was convicted on several more felony counts. He was sentenced to 3 years, but after serving his time, he was back at it.
It kind of makes me panicky thinking about it.
In 2001, Ward took thousands from Cora.
All calls were, no longer answered, and we now had a big mess and lots of damage to our home and our down payment gone.
That same year, Linda Cameron gave Ward a deposit for new windows and then never heard from him.
It seems to me like he's established quite a lengthy pattern of doing the same thing, and the consequences don't seem to bother him.
Linda and Cora both won civil suits, but Ward never gave them a penny. In 2002, Ward was convicted again in Tazewell County on 7 more felony counts, and this time one of his victims included an 86-year-old man. Ward was sentenced to 7.5 years in the Illinois Department of Corrections, and after he got out, he still didn't stop.
I think it's kind of one of those things where a leopard doesn't change his spots.
Ward moved to Wisconsin, where he started calling himself Pastor Dave, a pastor and horse trainer who runs a contracting company, Man of Steel Roofing.
It was really charming and starting up a new business. We thought we'd help him out.
We told Linda Wackles, Ward's Winnebago County victim, what we uncovered.
David Ward has over 12 felony convictions in the state of Illinois.
12. And this guy is still out there doing the same thing?
The Winnebago and Ozaukee County prosecutors who handled Ward's 2 Wisconsin cases tell CBS 58 they didn't know about Ward's Illinois convictions, but declined to comment further.
Somebody didn't do their homework very well.
That is upsetting. If that was known when we were in court with him, I would think that the judge would see that this guy is a habitual offender and maybe would have sent him to prison right away.
We gave Ward multiple chances to explain himself. On our first attempt, no one came to the door, and when we went back the next day, he had put up no trespassing signs, so we asked for comment from public property. Mr. Ward? Ward hid behind a tree and took our picture. We finally did reach him over the phone.
I have no comment.
Ward's attorney also declined to comment.
He needs to be stopped and he needs to be put away.
Ward has 1 more open case in Waukesha County, and we found out that prosecutors there also didn't know about these Illinois convictions, but now because of this investigation, they are revising his plea deal.
We keep doing stories about the problems with unemployment, in part because people keep asking us for help, and it seems like some of them finally get answers when we take their cases to the Department of Workforce Development. Tens of thousands of people in Wisconsin are still waiting for unemployment benefits. Some filed back in April, some are facing evictions.
We're $900 plus behind in rent. We're behind on our utilities.
One woman is pregnant and unable to pay her bills.
it's hurtful, it's stressful.
Another woman tells CBS 58 Investigates she applied in April, was denied in July, appealed, and finally won that appeal in October. Now she's waiting to get paid.
It's been horrible. To me, I'm stressed. I have my anxiety is bad, and I'm facing an eviction myself.
The Department of Workforce Development says it's processed 92.7% of the unemployment claims filed between March 15th and October 31st. But that still leaves nearly 76,000 people waiting for claims to be processed. There are another 12,000 who were denied and are appealing the decision.
We can't buy cleaning supplies like we need to. We can't buy toilet paper like we need to. We're sitting here on the verge of being kicked out of our place in the middle of a pandemic.
CBS 58 Investigates has been able to get some people answers. After our story last month, 2 people got approved and paid. Redante Jones says he also finally got a call back.
A day or so after you guys ran your story, and he called me and he said that it had finally came across his desk.
But he still has not received any money. Jones says his claim was denied. He's now appealing the decision. The DWD has repeatedly denied our request for an interview, but I did send them the names of the people who asked us for help. I was told, quote, our constituent services team that looks into referred cases will be reviewing inquiries from the press to determine the status of claims, address any issues, and get the claims resolved. People tell me it's frustrating. Some cases only seem to get resolved when a reporter gets involved.
I'm on a string of prayer. That's all I have is prayer.
This afternoon, DWD did respond to some questions in an email. They say in addition to adding staff, they're working to better train staff. They also say there's several things they're, quote, looking to implement. Reporting in Milwaukee, Kristen Barbaresi, CBS 58 Investigates. These texts are between then Health Commissioner Bevan Baker and Tiffany Barta, who was the director of nursing at the time and now is in charge of the lead program. Some of the texts date back to last summer. The two talk about what a mess the program is and how bad it will be for the department if it gets out. September 27, 2017, the then director of nursing, Tiffany Barta, fires off a series of text messages to then Health Commissioner Bevan Baker about the massive problems in the lead poisoning prevention program. She texts, it's my understanding that there are no policies in lead except the ones I used 5 years ago. She continues, telling Baker another severely lead-poisoned child was sent home to a place that still had lead hazards. In another text, she says, if this gets out, that the lead program is this messed up, we will be held to the grindstone. She adds she's working hard because she doesn't want Baker to, quote, have to answer to the crap they will serve you across the street, meaning City Hall. Baker thanks her for the update and says, quote, together we will clean up and clear out this mess. Still, problems persisted and came to a head at the end of 2017. Barta texts Baker on December 29th, we can't change what has happened. However, we can show the mayor and the council we have a plan. But in January, Baker is forced to resign after Mayor Barrett says he learned of all the problems. Multiple sources tell me Bevan Baker previously agreed to testify Thursday at the Steering and Rules Committee meeting. But now those sources say he's backing out because of the release of these text messages. The committee does have the power to subpoena Baker to testify, but so far that hasn't happened. CBD is a booming industry with stores popping up all over Wisconsin. CBD comes from the cannabis plant but doesn't contain THC and won't get you high. It's added to edibles, creams, and oils, claiming to help with everything from arthritis to anxiety. But if you look closely, most of the labels have a disclaimer. The products aren't evaluated by the FDA. In fact, there's very little oversight of CBD. And while some products are tested by a third-party lab, many are not.
Right now, there's no testing requirements at all for CBD products.
Leah Schaefer, the COO of Nascent, a cannabis testing lab licensed in the state of California, says that means there's a lot of bad CBD on the market. CBS 58 Investigates decided to put CBD to the test.
Hi, good, how are you?
We went to stores in Milwaukee and Waukesha counties.
Can I try one of the CBD froggies?
And bought 20 different CBD items, popcorn, candies, oils, and packed them up and sent them to Nascent to be analyzed.
I feel extremely confident in the results.
But just to make sure we were getting a complete picture, we bought the products a second time and had them tested at another lab, Wisconsin Hemp Scientific in Waukesha County.
Well, these results are pretty similar.
The two labs matched up pretty well, and here's what we found out.
When you buy CBD products, you don't really know what you're going to get.
Of the 20 products that we tested, 2 actually had more CBD than advertised. Only 4 of the products had between 75 and 100% of the CBD the label claimed. 1 had about 50%. Then the largest group, 8 products, had less than 25% of the CBD the label said. And 4 of them didn't have any at all. And while the results shocked us, experts say it's pretty typical.
That's fairly consistent for what you would see if you kind of just pulled products off the shelves.
Only 3 products got different results at the 2 labs, the popcorn and 2 gummies. Both labs tell CBS 58 Investigates that happens not only because the way labs test can vary, but also because edibles are hard to manufacture consistently, especially if the CBD is just sprinkled on top.
And that can also be difficult for the consumer to be able to dose themselves appropriately because they don't know what they're going to be taking in each time they take a bite.
We also had 2 oils that had small amounts of CBD, but the label doesn't say what should have been inside. Once we had the results, we decided to see what the manufacturers had to say. There was no CBD detected in the sangria. It was made by Michael McGee, owner of Hemp Cafe. He tells CBS 58 Investigates that he added CBD that is third-party tested to the drink.
Do you test any of the individual products that you produce or just the oil that you add to them?
All our products are tested, just like the drink you had, and I just showed you 99%. The isolate we use is 99.9% third-party tested out of Colorado.
But you didn't actually test the sangria itself.
We wouldn't have to because our products are tested.
Maya Mays is a co-owner of Hemp Cafe. She and McGee stand by their sangria.
My reaction to it is that, honestly, the only way that I could see it is really like sabotage.
When you say sabotage, who do you think is trying to sabotage?
Well, one may never know. All I know is that we put CBD in our products.
We also reached out to Hemp Bombs and Platinum X CBD, but neither got back to us. The most accurate product we tested came from CBD Therapeutics of Wisconsin. The oil had 95% of the CBD it claimed.
I wasn't all that surprised, but it was very refreshing to hear.
The owners of the company tell us they regularly third-party test their products.
You want a lab result on the CBD itself, and then you want a batched lab result on the products that you're looking at.
Cartwright says she's disappointed that so many other products we tested didn't contain much CBD at all.
And it makes the industry seem shaky. It makes it seem like it's a sham, like we're selling snake oil.
But it comes back to that lack of oversight. Right now, anyone can make and sell products claiming they're infused with CBD.
They're able to do like in-house formulations, or they're able to do whatever. And right now, like I said, with CBD specifically, there's very little licensure required. There's very little oversight.
Both testing labs we worked with say that needs to change, whether it's the FDA that steps in or each individual state. Cartwright agrees and is working with legislators on a new hemp bill to tighten rules in Wisconsin. But not all manufacturers are on board.
But if there were set standards, do you think that would protect you?
I don't think the FDA is going to protect the businesses. I think the consumers can be protected, definitely, but businesses, no.
Experts say right now it's up to consumers to make sure products are third-party tested and that sellers are knowledgeable.
I think that people really don't understand that it's a buyer beware market, that they should do a lot of research before buying a product.
One lab told us a lot of CD products on the market can also contain THC or contaminants like even lead. So some good news here is we did test all of our products for any contaminants and we didn't find any of that. We didn't find any THC either.
The men and women who serve our country are entitled to a benefit called a VA loan. But sometimes it's that benefit that's actually keeping them from finding a place to live. After 12 years in the military,
I joined the Army, active duty Army, in 2008.
Andrew Buskowski retired last August, and 2 months later, he married his wife, Stephanie. Then, more good news for the couple.
So when I found out Stephanie was pregnant, I was just like, I can't live in an apartment anymore.
They already have a 7-year-old son.
It was important to us, too, to get settled for him so that he can stay in one place and he can grow roots, too, and make friends. And
roots are something neither one had as a kid.
And we grew up renting.
Andrew and Stephanie got pre-approved for a VA home loan, a program that lets vets buy with no down payment, no private mortgage insurance, and lower interest rates.
It's honestly probably the biggest benefit the VA gives you.
Chris Burke is the vice president of Mortgage Insight at Veterans United, the largest VA purchase lender.
The heart of this benefit was this idea that they're giving up a chance to build credit and savings to defend our freedoms.
But the market is competitive, and in this competition, veterans are losing.
If you're competing against conventional or cash, the veteran's going to lose every time.
Realtor Beth Jaworski didn't work with the Buskowskis, but does work with veterans. She says misconceptions about the loans scare sellers away.
One of them is that because it's a government-backed program that's going to take longer, which is not actually true.
Burke says 20 years ago, these loans did take longer, but not anymore. In April, VA loans closed just 4 days later than conventional loans.
VA has invested so much in automation and technology to help VA loans better compete in today's marketplace. And that's one of the big reasons you see so many veterans turning to this benefit.
Another thing making sellers wary is the appraisal process. VA appraisers can issue work orders for things like peeling paint on the exterior and handrails. It all has to be fixed and re-inspected before closing. Many sellers don't want to deal with it.
It's tough to hear. I mean, we know it's happening in markets across the country.
I mean, I'm having a child, which I would think would be the biggest stressor, but this was the biggest stressful thing in my life.
With the baby coming in August, the Buskowskis were about to give up and find another apartment. Then they walked into this home.
I remember I was standing like right there, and Stephanie walked in, and she's like, wow.
They decided to make one more offer.
Dear homeowner, my name is Stephanie.
And included a letter.
My husband has just left the Army after 12 years and is ready to raise our family in a home where he doesn't have to worry about leaving and uprooting.
It worked. Their offer was accepted because the sellers, too, are a veteran family.
All right, where's this going?
What we were looking for, like in a house and in a seller, is what they were looking for in a buyer, and that it just worked out that way. So not everybody is going to obviously have that luck, unfortunately.
Jaworski says it shouldn't be so difficult.
And I think realtors really need to bind together to work with the federal government to do a little revamp on this VA program.
She says that could include providing motivation for sellers.
Well, they may pay, some of the closing costs. Pay the year's taxes or pay the title policy, pay the, do something that way.
Burke says there also needs to be more education for civilians and real estate agents about how the program works.
This is going to be the nursery.
For Andrew and Stephanie, they're now first-generation homeowners.
Here they go.
Providing something for their kids they never had. A place to call their own.
It's that kind of like American dream.
Marijuana is still illegal in Wisconsin, but a product called Delta 8 THC is skyrocketing in popularity. It's sold a lot like CBD products, but it's actually more like weed. And for that reason, there are legal and health questions about it. Delta 8 THC is derived from hemp, but its effects are similar to marijuana.
Will it get you high? Basically, yes.
You can get Delta 8 in candies, oils, and vapes, and sales are booming across Wisconsin.
3/4 of my telephone calls, do you sell Delta 8? Do you sell Delta 8?
But how is it legal? Well, it's complicated. In Wisconsin, hemp-derived products are legal as long as they contain less than 0.3% Delta 9 THC. Delta 8 THC is also found in hemp and is not explicitly prohibited.
By taking CBD isolate, putting it through a heated process and then a little bit more of a chemical extraction process, that it can be turned into Delta 8.
But according to a report from the nonpartisan Wisconsin Legislative Council, it's that extraction process that raises questions, and the legality of Delta 8, quote, depends on whether it meets the definition of hemp or instead constitutes synthetic or chemically synthesized THC, because synthetic THC is illegal. That report concluded whether or not Delta 8 is legal is an open question and will require clarity from regulators or lawmakers. In the meantime, it's sold virtually everywhere you find CBD.
More and more products are being made available in the state of Wisconsin. So we saw that as alarming.
Representative David Bowen says he wants to see regulation of the products to protect consumers.
We aren't specifying that they should be made safely in a certain way. They should be checked for safety in a certain way, or they shouldn't be sold to certain vulnerable populations.
Rachel Cartwright, owner of CBD Therapeutics of Wisconsin, says she refused to sell Delta 8 at first because of the legal gray area, but changed her mind when it started popping up at stores and gas stations everywhere.
I knew that if I was going to protect my customers, that I was definitely going to have to take the step and start making it myself and making sure that the Delta 8 that we got had perfect labs, was, free of any residual chemical solvents, free of pesticides.
Dan Sebring, who owns the Real Milwaukee CBD, doesn't make his own products, but says he vets what he sells.
I have worked very hard to make sure that everything that I sell is produced locally. And by locally, I mean within the state of Wisconsin.
Both Cartwright and Sebring say Delta 8 is their biggest seller.
More than half of my CBD sales are Delta 8 products.
Some use it medicinally, others recreationally, but no matter how you use it, there are things you need to know. For starters, it's a buyer's beware market.
You really have to do your due diligence, do your research, buy from a reputable company, make sure that what you're buying is what it says it is.
You also need to know how much to take.
You can take too much Delta 8, you're not going to die, but you might feel a little strange.
And if you use Delta 8 and take a drug test, you will test positive for THC. Cartwright also warns people not to smoke Delta 8 flower.
There hasn't been enough time to breed strains that would produce Delta 8 flower. So what they're doing is chemically spraying it with Delta 8. And that's a huge problem because the chemicals that they use to spray for a thinner to get it on, sometimes it's alcohol, sometimes it's other different solvents.
Representative Bowen says regulation is in the early stages, but he hopes it's a bipartisan effort.
At the end of the day, we know that there's a threat of young people in the state of Wisconsin getting access to these products that shouldn't have them, or these products being made in a way where they could be hurtful.
For now, though, it's up to sellers and consumers to make sure Delta 8 is produced and used safely. The Wisconsin Department of Agriculture, Trade, and Consumer Protection, which oversees the hemp program, declined to do an interview, but in a statement said Delta 8 is a good example of the constantly evolving nature of hemp and CBD industries and how regulation of those industries can get complicated. Reporting in West Dallas, Kristen Barbaresi, CBS 58 Investigates.